Hello everybody, welcome back to the Young Fan Podcast. Today it's another League One roundup. Welcome to the Easter Monday and Tuesday roundup in Sky Bet League One. Most teams now have only 2 or 3 games until the end of the season. I say it every single day. It is the business end of this League One campaign. Of course, Doncaster have joined Crewe in the teams already relegated to League 2 this week, and disappointing stuff for those sets of fans. However, the title race, the playoff race, all of that is still on. Got some really exciting games to be talking about today. Let me know in the comments down below, are you happy with your team's performance in this weekend's, not really weekend, more game week / Monday and Tuesday? Let me know in the comments down below. We're replying and responding to all of them as per usual. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell as well. Oxford fans, MK Dons, I did post a match reaction for Oxford against MK Dons, in which Oxford did win in the last few minutes of the game. A late winner through Billy Bowden. Of course, we won't be looking at that game in this one because I've done a designated match reaction for that. That is on the channel. That posted at about 1 o'clock in the morning. I do apologise, very late. You can still watch that, of course, on the channel right now. A lot of people haven't really got around to watching it because of the upload time was a little bit frustrating, but there we go. A late kickoff on a Tuesday. That is just what you get. But that is on the channel now. I just wanted to make sure you knew about that. Firstly, then, we've got Plymouth Argyle against Sunderland. By the way, I've loved having these games on Sky Sports. Being able to watch these games sort of free of concern as an Oxford United fan is a really good feeling, actually. And I think it's been a really good advert for League One. I think that's a really important thing. You know, I think a lot of people maybe have their doubts when you look at the third tier of English football, but ultimately I think it's proved a really good quality of football. And this one, although it was 0-0, I don't normally do 0-0s on these sort of roundup episodes, but this game held so much importance, and the quality of football at times was absolutely brilliant. It really did just miss a goal from being an absolutely brilliant game of football. Both sides really on form, very attacking, and it was a brilliant game to watch. Of course, Plymouth come into this game a little bit more inconsistent form than Sunderland. However, Plymouth's home record this season, especially in the last 6 games, have been absolutely brilliant. 6 games on the trot, winning. Of course, a draw against Sunderland does sort of halt that run, but still, you're looking at a very good unbeaten record. But going into this game, 6 games unbeaten, 6 games winning, should I say. No goals conceded as well. Very impressive stuff. So Sunderland, they were going to have to be at their best if they're going to win this game. They weren't able to win. However, they did get a really important draw. Although Sunderland, that draw doesn't get them into the top 6, I probably would say Sunderland probably would have wanted that draw a little and probably taken that draw pretty better than Plymouth. I don't know. I'm not going to put the thoughts and feelings into the minds of other fans, but let me know in the comments down below. Of course, I'll be reading them and responding to those thoughts. If I was a Sunderland fan, I probably would take that, drawing 0-0 with a side with such good form, higher than them in the league table. And like I said, that home sort of run they're going on at the moment, Plymouth, is absolutely brilliant. But, I mean, the facts are there. Sunderland are in the top 6 at the moment. Even with a draw, it isn't seeing them finish, or at the moment, it will see them in the top 6 place. However, they have got a game in hand on Wycombe. They've got a game in hand on Oxford and Plymouth as well. So, very good sort of advantage there with that game in hand. Of course, that doesn't equal 3 points, but if they do that, a very significant 3 points that will be. Going to make it very difficult for teams of Oxford who are trying to chase, and of course, Wycombe who are trying to keep themselves in the top 6 as well. That goes to Plymouth, of course, as well. In terms of how the game panned out, I've got a few notes sort of below me here, but I mean, one thing I can remember, an amazing player from this game, and that was Kamara. I know Kamara as a player has been brilliant this season. I watched him a couple of times. This, I think, was the 3rd time I've watched him because I watched him home and away with Oxford. But very impressive, Kamara. His athleticism, his work rate, his box-to-box ability as a midfielder, absolutely brilliant. He ran the game at times for Plymouth. A very good midfielder. He did go off injured, so hopefully Plymouth, that isn't, I don't know, but hopefully that isn't too serious. I don't know whether or not there's been an update on that, but he did go off with a bit of a knock. I don't know if it was more severe injury, but a very impressive performance from him in that midfield. I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in the midfield, really taking things along for Plymouth, and the ability for him to get hold of the ball, drive at players, his athleticism, his height, of course, helps him as well. He's not a short man, got very long legs as well, so he can sort of get involved in the game in lots of different ways. Very impressed with Kamara. Bit of a key battle between him and Matete, of course, the player in the middle of the park for Sunderland. Really impressed with him, and those two really going at it in the game, both trying to win the midfield battle for their sides. In terms of the momentum graph and how the game panned out, it probably is pretty much, and it's really quite impressive when you watch a game and look at the momentum graph. I don't normally get to do that, but it does sum up the game really well. It does start a little bit slower than I would have thought, and the first half I thought was really quite good in terms of quality and in terms of the way that both the sides were playing. I thought Sunderland probably did have a slight edge for the first sort of few minutes of the game, and then Plymouth really started going. I think in terms of quantity of attacking chances, you probably would sway towards Sunderland, but you could see them trying to get in behind. I think they tried to play that ball over the top. That was definitely the ball they were trying to do, try and get the players like Ross Stewart, like Broadhead, who's been brilliant form this season and in recent games especially, get those players in behind. That was definitely the message from Alex Neil, and you can see it definitely was working. Although they didn't get a goal from it, you could see getting in behind that back three of Plymouth was certainly the game plan. They tried it in the first half, of course, but it was almost a game of counter-attacks after counter-attack. No side was really, interested to look at the possession stats. It does see Sunderland have more of the ball. First half, 55% possession. Second half, it was definitely more Sunderland, but the first half definitely felt more equal. But you could see the counter-attack was always going to be a threat for both sides, ultimately. Into the second half, Sunderland definitely started the second half much better. Bit of a spell for Plymouth after that, and then another really big spell for Sunderland where you thought they'd get the goal, and then a sort of a last couple of chances really for Plymouth. The one in particular, Connor Grant, had a really, really good chance, the left-back, who's been in brilliant form this season. He had a chance to win the game, wasn't able to convert it. But ultimately, a really, really good game of football. Sunderland, although they're probably going to take the point, they probably had a little bit more, probably had more chance, probably had more attacking momentum in terms of they had more shots on target. They had more passes across the game as well, so more possession. You probably would argue that Sunderland probably deserved to win the game a little bit more if there had to be a winner. A little bit more equal in my eyes, but ultimately Sunderland, they did have the chance in the game. So did Plymouth at points as well. So a draw is probably quite a fair result. I think Sunderland will probably take that a little bit more away from home, although that point doesn't get them the top six. They know they've got that game in hand. As a Plymouth, another sort of non-win, if you like. Of course, 3 games now without a win. Interested to see how they cope. They've got some really difficult games in the next 2 games for their run into the season. Have to wait and see what happens there. But it finishes at home park, Plymouth 0, Sunderland 0. Right then, let's go to AFC Wimbledon because they hosted Wycombe, another team trying to fight their way into the top 6. In the top 6 at the moment, they're now trying to fight to stay in those playoff places. AFC Wimbledon could have got relegated, I believe, with this game because Shrewsbury were playing, Gillingham had already played, I believe, but it doesn't mean they're not relegated just yet. Of course, 4 points sees them adrift at the moment, which isn't, of course, over because they have 2 more games. It's not looking great for Wimbledon, I must add. However, it's not mathematically over yet, so you can continue to believe AFC Wimbledon is not completely over yet. In terms of the league table, we'll have a little bit more of a deep dive on that. Like I said, 4 points away from safety, AFC Wimbledon with those 2 games in hand. 6 points. The maths is there. It isn't mathematically over. Fleetwood aren't looking great at the moment. They're in the relegation zone. Gillingham and Morecambe still possibly in there. I do think, there'll be a fact here. 2 teams out of the following, Gillingham, Fleetwood and Wimbledon, I think will go down. I think Morecambe are going to be okay now. They seem to be building up a really, really good run at this point in the season, and I can't see Lincoln get involved in it. So Morecambe maybe, but I just can't see it. I think it's going to be 2 teams out of Gillingham, Fleetwood, Wimbledon who are going to get relegated. Heart on heart, I know people are going to want to see my predictions and my my relegation predictions. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know what Wimbledon's games are looking at. I'll have a little look here. They've still got to play Fleetwood and Accrington. So Fleetwood's going to be an absolutely ginormous game. And, of course, Accrington at home. So, Wimbledon, they definitely have got a chance. Of course, they're going to have to look at Gillingham's games as well. In fact, while we're here, let's have a little look at the relegation battle. Gillingham, they still got to play Portsmouth and Rotherham. Gillingham have got some very, very difficult games. To be honest, then, that changed a lot. I think Gillingham, the recent form for Gillingham, 3 draws on the bounce. I don't know how that's going to go. Fleetwood, they're not in great form. Out of all the teams, Fleetwood are actually in worse form, you'd say, out of those 3 teams. Well, maybe not actually, because Fleetwood got a win in 5 games ago. But whether or not that's recent form, I guess it is. I do think Wimbledon will get relegated. I think it's a toss-up between Gillingham and Fleetwood. I'm probably going to go with Gillingham. Let's have a look at Fleetwood's games. We haven't looked at them, have we? We looked at the other 2. It's only fair. Fleetwood have got Wimbledon, of course. We know that one. And Sheffield Wednesday at home. They've got 2 home games, so very, very interesting stuff. I don't want to upset too many fans here. I'm only going to upset 3 anyway, or 1 or 2. So I'm going to go with Fleetwood getting relegated along with Wimbledon. I'm going to go with that being the bottom 4. There we go. That isn't really what this episode was about, but there we go. We did it while we were there. I think it will be that bottom 4 that get relegated. In terms of Wycombe, 77 points at the moment. However, of course, in that top 6, which does see them fine, but you've got Sunderland, who've got a game in hand on them, also on 77 points. Oxford, of course, now back in the race, 75 points. They find themselves on 2 places away from Wycombe, but of course both Oxford and Wycombe on 44 points. In terms of the attacking momentum graph, this was a really good result for the likes of Wednesday, Wycombe, Plymouth, anyone but Wycombe, Oxford. So this was a really, really good result for them, seeing Wycombe drop points against Wimbledon. We know away from home. I mean, Wycombe have done that quite recently. Again, they dropped points to Gillingham and now another drop points to Wimbledon. They seem to be struggling a little bit on the road against those doggish teams fighting for relegation. That seems to be their weakness at the moment. But we know the quality that Wycombe have got, and I'm sure they're going to turn it on when it matters, because this Wycombe side seem to do it under Gareth Ainsworth. They always find a way of doing something quite special. So we'll have to go and wait and see. Definitely not counting the chickens yet. Sort of first few minutes of the game, pretty much nothing happened. Then it started getting going. It probably was Wycombe over the 90 minutes that dominated the game. However, all importantly, it's about goals, about results at this point in the season. You could dominate the ball all you want. The biggest spike in the first half came from AFC Wimbledon. They got their goal. In the second half, bits of AFC Wimbledon, mainly Wycombe, and then Wycombe do get what you'd say they deserved equalising goal. They definitely would have felt through Akinfenwa, of course, who got the equaliser. They definitely would have felt they probably should have got more than just a point away from the game. But AFC Wimbledon, fighting for their lives at the moment, have to go and wait and see. In terms of the ball, we know Wycombe don't normally have possession, or have dominate possession basically, but 58% possession for AFC Wimbledon, pretty much unheard of. But that's the side they're playing. That's the way they're playing across the game. In fact, in the first half, 59% possession. Of course, big chances across the game. They had one big chance, but you probably would expect that big chance is a little bit bizarre way of looking at it. But ultimately, really, really impressive stuff for AFC Wimbledon, you should say, in the end. A team in the playoff places this season. When you're in a bit of a dogfight, getting a point here, very, very good result for them. As for Wycombe, I mean, they look like they definitely were the better side, but they weren't able to take those chances when it matters. It looks as which they were dominated. They were huffing and puffing. They just couldn't quite get that winning goal. Of course, the ex-AFC Wimbledon man, Akinfenwa, scored the equalising goal. But for Wycombe, not a great result. For Sunderland, for Oxford, like I've already said, the teams fight in the top six. That's not a bad result at all. Fair play to AFC Wimbledon. They continue on their fight to stay in the league. It finishes AFC Wimbledon 1, Wycombe 1. Right, then let's go to Burton, because they provide a shock win. I mean, Burton, we know they can cause threats. They know they can cause upsets, Burton Albion this season. Although 16th in the league, Jimmy Fuller-Hasselbank has got this sort of backs against the wall mentality at Burton, where they cause a lot of problems. And they hosted, of course, a side trying to win the league, trying to hunt for the title, but not in great form at the moment. Really quite inconsistent. They beat they beat Ipswich on Saturday, I believe it was. But unfortunately for them, losing 2-0 to Burton, Rotherham, not a great result at all. However, you look at those last 5 games, it's not brilliant, is it? 4 defeats out of those last 5 games. That very, very important win against Ipswich you'd see now, especially with that defeat. That's very, very important. MK Dons with 2 defeats on the bounce as well. What is going on? Wycombe haven't won a game in 3, all of which Wycombe, Rotherham and MK Dons, at least, I mean, they've not had brilliant form. These are sides that have been winning machines. I've been saying how good they've been through the whole season. Right at the end, they go and have a little bit of a mare. It now could really go either way. I keep saying it's their title to win, it's their title to lose, but ultimately at the moment, I think absolutely anyone could win it, because everyone keeps dropping points. It's amazing, fascinating, probably not so amazing for the teams involved in it, but it's fascinating to watch from a neutral. In terms of Burton, well, I mean, in recent form, hasn't been too bad, has it? 3 draws going into this game, and of course a win now makes it 4 games unbeaten. Very, very impressive stuff for them. But it looks as though last night, to be honest, they had moments in the games and they took them. Started off Burton on the front foot, then a little bit of, quite a big patch of Rotherham, you could say, and then a very big, also probably say a bigger patch of them Burton. A little bit of Rotherham before half time, but very evenly matched in the first half. But it is sort of the early moments of the game. Karen Borthwith Jackson after 3 minutes makes it 1-0. I mean, Burton really, really starting this game quite strong. And you can see they both did have moments in that first half. But Burton, against the league leaders, Rotherham, it takes some serious, in the nice way, very tactical balls, really, to go at Rotherham. We know the side, we know the threat that they've got, to go at them like they did. Very, very impressive stuff. And they definitely saw the reward of that, didn't they? Going 1-0 up at half time. They go into the second half. Probably did start more Burton. I mean, the message probably would have been from the Rotherham manager, of course, Paul Warne. It probably would have been, just start the game, start the second half strong. They probably weren't able to do that. You can see here, Burton probably started the second half the better side. Then a little bit of Rotherham. And then another Burton attack, in which then makes it 2-0. I mean, you can see here, take your chance when it matters. Take your chances when you get those moments. You can see here, going 2-0 up, and then a really, really big spike from Rotherham, pretty much in the 65th minute to the end of the game, but they can't do anything with it. As much as they try, as much as they attack, as much as they try and cause Burton problems, they can't get that equalising goal, trying to get back into the game at 2-1, of course, being 2-0 down. It finishes 2-0, but you can see here, we've seen so many times this season, teams like Burton, you can see here, it looks as though they went for it. It wasn't like it was all Rotherham across the game, and they had sort of 2 chances in the game and they took them. Rotherham, it looks as though Burton, they were trying to attack Rotherham at times, trying to attack a side that look a bit wounded at the moment, don't they, Rotherham? The form they're on, although they won against Ipswich, they don't look like the side they were at the start of the season. I think teams like Burton are definitely trying to take advantage of that. Hopefully Oxford on Saturday try and take advantage of that. Very, very interesting game indeed. But for Rotherham, not a good night. For Burton, a brilliant, brilliant win. In terms of that league position, I know we've already looked at the league, but now we've sort of broken the game down. Burton 16th in the league. It's going to be a mid-table finish for Burton. But for Rotherham, like I've already said, Wigan dropping points, Rotherham dropping points, MK Dons dropping points. It really could go either way. I'm not going to comment on the title race too much because it seems to be jinxing everyone's chance of it. So I'll just let it be. But it seems to be really, really quite fascinating. In terms of the ball, quickly look at the possessions. That's 58% possession for Rotherham, so more of the ball in the end. But it looks as though, again, reiterating what I said, Burton, when they have the chance, when they have the ball, when they have those moments, they're taking advantage of it. And they're attacked in the game as well, causing problems for Rotherham. They definitely saw the benefits of attacking and showing some real, I think, attacking prowess at points in the game. It finishes Burton 2, Rotherham 0. A night to forget for Rotherham, as for Burton, a really, really good home game at this point in the season. Right then, let's go to our final game, Ipswich against Wigan Athletic. A bit of a 4-goal thriller, you could say, 2-2 in the end. Let's have a look at it. At, of course, Portman Road, this one. Fascinating game. You can see in the end, I mean, it looks as though, look at the graph. We don't normally look at the graph straight away, but you can't help but look at it. Pretty much, or Ipswich, you can see here, moments of Wigan's quality, especially sort of at the end of the game. They had a sort of a big spike, sort of 3 moments in the first half, but across, in terms of dominating attacking chances, it is definitely more Ipswich. You can see what Kieran McKenna's trying to do at Ipswich. They're very, very clear with his philosophy, trying to attack, shore up defensively, because they conceded way too many goals before he came in under Paul Cook. He's now come in, he's definitely shored up the side defensively, but going forward now, a really, really good side. They know they like to play on that front foot. Playing almost wingers as fullbacks is definitely being a really, really exciting time for Ipswich, and they're really seeing the benefits of that. In terms of the league position, it's not going to be a season where Ipswich worry about getting in the top 6. Maybe they thought they would at the start of the season, but it's not going to be. However, they've learned a lot, I think, with Kieran McKenna coming in. I think Kieran McKenna's learned a lot as well. A good summer, and then go again next season. I think Ipswich is going to be a real team to watch out for. As a Wigan, trying to win the league, ultimately, that's the aim for Wigan at the moment. Of course, Rotherham were dropping points, and that sort of saw them get in there with all their games in hand they have. They now have only got 1 game in hand on MK Dons. They now play the exact same amount of games as Rotherham, and it is 83 points for Rotherham. Wigan on 88, so it is now only 5 points between the two sides. If you score again, which you probably would say is quite a fair reflection on the game that they've seen so far, and then a really good attack from Wigan. So in the last few moments of the game, and they score in the 86th minute through Will Keane, finish the game 2-2. In terms of a player to watch out for, it's got to be Will Keane, hasn't it? Two goals in the game for that player, Will Keane. Really good performance from him. He's definitely the player, the sort of the key player in that one. 42 touches across the game, very good pass accuracy, 1 key pass, but of course, goals doesn't matter at this point in the season. Goals for a striker is exactly what he wants, and Will Keane certainly does that. He scores 2 on the night, and it finishes Wigan 2. Ipswich 2, Wigan 2. Very, very interesting stuff. Fascinating game to watch. It does finish 2-2 in that one. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know what you thought of your team in the comments down below. That's the 4 selected games for you. Let's have a quick look at the league table as a whole before we finish. Like I said, Doncaster, Crewe, they're already relegated, but Wimbledon, Fleetwood, Gillingham, they're still battling out for a relegation dogfight at the moment. In terms of the teams trying to get into the top 6, Oxford with a win against MK Dons. Yes, of course, match reaction on the channel for that one. That's going to be really interesting. Are we now back in with a serious shout? Have to go and wait and see. But Oxford, Sunderland, Wycombe, Plymouth, I think Sheffield Wednesday as well, you have to put them in the same basket. All teams fighting for a top 6 place. Fascinating stuff. Who's going to win the league? I'm not going to comment on that because, like I said, I seem to be jinxing anyone's chance of winning the league at the moment. All 3 teams, I'd say, are the contenders for it. MK Dons, Rotherham and Wigan, they're all dropping points at the moment. Like I said, let me know in the comments down below what you think of your team's performance across this Easter Monday and Tuesday games of football in League One. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. On the road now to 1.2 thousand subscribers. Hit that notification bell as well. That really would be much appreciated. Until next time, see you later. See you all very, very soon. See you in a bit.